If Aragon was a track which put together a perfected race by Juan Costa, then today at Circuit of the Americas, you have to be on your best game. Especially if your name starts with Timothy and ends in Reed. The spin at corner number 1 must not be repeated again if title aspirations are on the horizon. But not a million miles away from Aggie's country here in Austin, Texas, the scene is set. It's your Sunday Grand Prix Series. It's your Lotus 79 Championship, and it's here with us on the Global SimRacing Channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone watching around the world. My name is Jake Sperry. Alongside me in the booth today is Joey Atterbury. Ryan Bauer is on the cameras for us, which are provided by Dougie Beard. But the Circuit of the Americas is a love-hate track. Some drivers absolutely love it. Some drivers hate it with a passion. But one thing is for certain, this track does produce good racing. And with good reason, let's take a look why with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Circuit of the Americas. The cliche of everything's bigger in Texas rings true for this track in the Lone Star State. Built specifically for Formula One, the number of corners, circuit length, safety features, and general track amenities immediately set this place apart from almost every racing course in the United States. Of the 3 layouts available, the most widely used is the Grand Prix circuit, which tops out at a whopping 20 turns along nearly 3.5 miles. Many of them have been modeled after well-known sections of European tracks such as Silverstone, Hockenheim, and Istanbul. But compared to those venues, this place still has lots of unique challenges. Turn 1 in particular features the largest elevation change from the lap and culminates in a blind and sharp hairpin. The penultimate corner is just as tough, with its off-camber apex and sudden drop forcing many to escape to the paved runoff on the outside. And though it was meant to lure F1, many other series have now raced here, ranging from IndyCar to WEC, IMSA, and even V8 supercars. Track days are also common, with the SCCA running all types of amateur events to allow up-and-coming drivers to feel what it's like to battle on the same tarmac as Vettel and Hamilton have. With this track, American race fans finally get to experience a purpose-built course made in the modern day. Texas went bigger and better, and in the process, raised the bar for their peers.
That is a little look at what makes Circuit of the Americas so great. But, Joey, you look at this track, I like to think about this circuit as the ultimate 5-year-old's Lego racetrack. It has everything that has been built from another circuit that makes it so good and so wonderful. And there is that unique childish flair to a track like COTA.
I think after driving it a handful of times, and competing on it, it is an incredibly strenuous track when it comes to the mental fatigue and also physical fatigue out there. And it is technical, 20 turns in length, 3.427 miles, and every single turn seems to feed into another. One sector feeds into the next. Very little time to rest, especially through the first third of the track, through the S section. You have a little bit of time to breathe down that big back straightaway, but you also notice there's several hairpins involved in this racetrack. Like you were saying, a little bit of everything, then it ends out in some fast sweepers. So downforce going to be on full display. You're going to have to be confident in the brakes, and it's a technical racetrack, so you better not make any mistakes.
Absolutely. Mistakes will be punished around COTA for a number of reasons. Slowdown penalties are one of them. And another one is going to be the fact that you will burn up your tyres. There is the championship standings. Juan Costa, 30 points to the good now over Timothy Reed. With one drop round used, he will have another in the back pocket to keep in mind as this season goes on. With Gernot Fritsch in 3rd position. The legend is slowly finding that form, which is putting him back in the picture. Dylan Freckleton finds himself 4th with Juho Rainer in 5th. Rainer had a really good round last time out and was able to climb up the standings, with Kimmo Villiakainen in 6th. And Nathan Finnegan just 4 points back in at 7th. JDS, Jack David Spickett, is 8th in the championship and finds himself with a 20-point buffer over Jason Clapper in 9th. Phil Reed rounds out the top 10 as we look from F1 driver standings to F2 standings, Joey.
Right now, Barry West and Keith Herner have both kind of ran away with it, but Barry West with a commanding 28-point lead out front. You get the big gap back there to Sam Ryman in third place, but look at these next three drivers, only separated by 1 point. Kurt Clapper, Miguel Moreland, and Pablo Suarez. You know what? Throw Robert Simpkins in there as well as Arturo Amaro, Thomas Silbernagel. They're all separated by less than 10 points for all 5 of those drivers. So I can't wait to see what COTA brings as well as the final 3 rounds, see how this shapes up.
I can't wait either. I'm sure we're going to have a fantastic end to this championship. This being round 9 of 2, there are 19 laps available over the course of the season. Open setup means that drivers will have differences in terms of how they tune their car to each different circuit. So advantages and disadvantages find themselves there. If they get in an accident here in iRacing, there's no spare car to save them. This is an iRacing official session, and as such, if you break it, you bought it. A drive-through penalty comes along at 17 incidents, and disqualification over at 25. So keep that in mind with drivers as they all look to push for every little inch around this circuit of the Americas. We will be heading to qualifying in just a couple of moments. A long circuit, which means a lot of time to pull it all together, but you get 8 minutes or 2 laps to put everything into perspective. We're about halfway through the qualifying efforts at the moment as Barry West currently looks to try and set his lap times. Juanmi Costa, the fastest at the moment, a 150.444, and he has for company at the moment Jukka Tolonen, only 0.3 of a second behind. A bird's eye, or I would say a driver's eye view from Barry West as he heads into the third sector. Pauli Partanen obliterates the top of the timing stands, Joey, but Barry making his way, the F2 Championship leader, through a very difficult final sector.
Yeah, this is the slowest section of the racetrack, really coming out of turn 16 and now into a fast, sweeping, long triple apex right-hander known as 17 and 18. Also feeds into a tricky, fast left-hand kink right there. You'll see a lot of drivers kind of misjudging that apex and flying off the racetrack into a little bit more of a medium speed corner through the left-hander. The final corner, turn 20 here at Circuit of the Americas, down the front straightaway to the start-finish line.
Yeah, some good runs. And these drivers are going to be struggling so much today around COTA. It is cold, it is windy, it is early in the morning. Juanmi Costa, #1, championship leader, highest iRating out of everyone. Down through the third sector now, and the switchback arena that leads on through. 16, 17, and 18 now soon follow, flying around the right, trying to keep it as pinned to the inside as he possibly can. Really trying to maximize out turn 19, the off-camber section that plateaus over the top and you dip down. Turn 20, the Andretti, not to be confused with any other, through the final corner and in a mark or a make-up McLaren trying to get that through. It is an improvement. It's a 150.063, but not enough to knock Pauli Partanen off position, who will be looking to try now and improve even further on a 49.8, and does not with that time, so stays in position with that. Jack David Spickett has just jumped up into the 5th fastest with his time. Juha Reiner goes 3rd overall, but there's Barry West, and he's still hoping that he can improve on what is 11th place at the moment.
It's still a solid qualifying effort from Barry West to be in the top split here, being the F2 championship leader and also qualifying right now provisionally P12. Now, I was noticing Pauli Partanen, big catch there from Barry West. I was noticing that Pauli actually put in a faster time, but here at COTA, you can kind of abuse the track limits. I think he had an off track there, which invalidated his lap time, something we're going to have to watch out for. Drivers will abuse that to gain lap time.
They will, as Pepe Fuentes goes 5th fastest. It's one Mr. Jack David Spickett on screen on his 2nd lap, and he's going to be dicing it here to get over the line, as he will know that when the clock strikes 0, that's it. That's the end of the qualifying effort. Down the hill into turn 12, the braking zone there, which will be the prime place to get it done today, and one which is definitely worth keeping an eye out on as this race progresses. flying about now through the arena section. There's a million lines in through 15, 16, 14, 15 even, and that can very easily go wrong. And now you're starting to see it, Joey, there. The torque, the kick up the steering wheel, definitely not helping having to make those corrections. And again, a micro correction.
Yeah, the car's a little bit happier through this section where it's medium speed, but you're right, through that slow technical sector, just the downforce isn't available, so it's not making the grip that the car usually does. It's not as happy as it wants to be.
No, it really isn't, but that's a great time nevertheless. A 150.3 is good enough for fourth fastest. You wonder if there was more on the horizon. Nathan Finnegan will be one of the last drivers over the line, and that one technically a 54, so will not improve. Let's take a look then at our starting grid for action here today for 19 laps at Circuit of the Americas. It is Pauli Kalevi-Partanen who is on the pole position with Juanmi Costa alongside for company. Juho Reiner and Jack David Spickett are third and fourth, with Yuka Tolonen fifth and Pepe Fuentes in sixth position. Jono Freaksha has work to do in seventh, and so too Timothy Reed. A qualifying effort, 1.4 seconds adrift in eighth, is not title challenging contention material, with Dylan Freckleton in ninth and Miguel Morland, the best of the F2s, in 10th.
And then in 11th, we have Barry West. Nathan Finnegan going to be lined up next to him on row 6th and 12th place. Then we have Pablo Suarez in 13th, Sam Ryman in 14th, Keith Herner 15th, and Jason Clapper did not put down a qualifying time, will start in the back in 16th place.
Yeah, so he will try and do his last to first challenge, see how far he goes. Only 68 Fahrenheit, track temperature, about the same as the air temp, but it's the wind from the southeast that's going to be causing the problems today. It's going to be raining havoc on the braking zones, and whoever masters where they need to brake on this circuit is going to have to put the best boots forward if they want to make this happen. That run up to the red, the big red, turn one, that huge hill is the highlight of this circuit. You take a look at it now, that wide entry apex that goes through about 7 or 8 car lengths wide, and then it really does bottleneck yourself in through the middle of the corner. So that's why positioning is so key up the hill, and who's going to be the bravest on the brakes through that section, with of course the NASCAR sponsoring there from their virtual event here in iRacing. But with 2 minutes to grid themselves up, that now comes down to 15 seconds. Waiting for Tolonen and Parson. Now just Yuka Tolonen is who we wait for in order to get this going. He now grids himself up, and we've got 16 ready. We'll get the lights procedure starting, and we will get ourselves ready for 19 laps of Circuit of the Americas. Green flag in the air. Let's get ourselves underway. Fantastic launch by Juho Reiner from the second row of the grid. He will look to now charge up. Partonen's done okay on the outside, but watch out for Juanmi Costa in second position. He'll try and slide around the outside, but he's going to lose traction on that outside curve, and he finds himself now way down the order. One spinner down the hill is Nathan Finnegan.
Yeah, Nathan Finnegan just got on the power too soon, but single file as they go through the S section for the first time. Make sure not to jump any curbs, especially on the first lap. Don't want to get any extended slowdowns now.
No, you don't. These first 2 laps are critical for that purpose, and you have to be alert. Up over the hill then, through turn 8, now 9, now 10. Soon starts to follow, and immediately you find yourself rushing through this section. Turn 11, the heavy braking zone. This might be a draft-dependent day. Here come the lunges down the inside, as close as you can possibly get in the middle of the field. That was Pepe Fuentes trying to get one back on Timothy Reed, who has made a really good start to this race, but they now charge to turn 12. The prime place to get it done today. Here comes Juanmi Costa pulling out. So too Yuka Tolonen. Big lockup going through. Does he make contact? No, he just avoids it. Reiner sweeps around the outside. Jack David Spickett now waits in the wings.
Oh, so close to contact between our front 2 runners of Reina and Costa in the second and third position. I tell you what, Tolonen was also drafting JDS on the back of it. He was kind of the 5th car in that train, and this is going to be one big draft party, Jake. I think it's going to be measuring who's got the downforce versus who's got the top end. And if you ask me at COTA, I would lean probably a little bit more towards the downforce.
Yeah, the downforce certainly, I think, if you're out in front, will give you that ability through the S section to break away. There are less places where it's less strong to have that compared to others. Parsonen, by the way, already 1.3 seconds to the good. Here comes a little look from Jukka Tolonen, who's trying to make the pass then, all sorted up into 4th place past Jack David Spickett. That's not going to happen at turn 1, but down the hill through turn 2, you're now going to start questioning, where do you find a move in the S's section? The answer is normally no, you don't, but watch out through this S's section. This camera shows it perfectly. Look at those little sausage curves there on the outside, the huge deterrents that they are.
Yeah, I call them bread boxes because they literally look like a loaf of bread on the racetrack. And you're seeing Tolonen actually fall back a little bit through that S section. I know that Jukka typically runs a little bit of a lower downforce setting, and combine that just with the dirty air in front of him, he falls back a little. But this right here, coming up out of turn number 11, he'll start to gain the momentum down the straightaway.
He will, but Jack David Spickett is someone who is struggling a little bit with his brakes. He said earlier on today he regrets going to a 5 kilogram softer brake elastoma. Well, now what do you have to say about that? That is just point proven there by Jukka Tolonen, immediately through on the inside with much more confidence under braking. What does he mean by that, Jack David Spickett there, Joey?
Well, so in a lot of these hardwares with the brake pedal systems, you can actually adjust the stiffness of the pedal, as we see Tolonen have a little bit of problems coming out of the corner here, but JDS wiggles as well. So what JDS did, he had a firmer, a stiffer pedal. He changed that spring, that elastomer inside, so it's a little bit softer. It might give him a little bit more modulation and feel. Maybe that's what he's looking for.
A bit more feel. He says he's not liking the feel that he's got, but I'm sure time will certainly help him in terms of how he uses that pedal to his advantage. All 16 runners are still in this race and still on the lead lap. Nathan Finnegan the best, although the last of them 19 seconds, I should say, off the pace. Juanmi Costa sets the fastest lap of the race, a 51.6. The reason why that's the fastest lap and not Pauli Parsonen's 51.3 is that an official fastest lap in iRacing, Joey, has to be clean.
Yeah, you can't go off the track at all, and here at COTA, there's plenty of opportunities to try to take advantage of those white lines, maybe cut those bread box curbs as much as you can. And if you go a little bit off the track, and I believe, Jake, here in iRacing, it's off of the center of the car, while in the real world, we kind of measure it off of when they physically go off the track with the wheels.
Yes, that's often what we tend to see, is that the middle of the car is that reference point. You have effectively on the front nose of the car the transponder, and then if over 50% of the car moves over to the right-hand side off the circuit, that's going to be your one that goes. Raya has to be defensive, but he knows he's got Juanmi Costa covered. So the candy car of Juho Rainer is holding on to a finish 1-2 at the moment, and Rainer's ability over the last couple of seasons to just go from strength to strength, I think has been huge in terms of what we've seen. This season especially, Rainer was the sort of driver who about a year ago was 7th or 8th place at best. Now he is fighting for podiums, arguably with the best runners in the field.
I mean, look who's chasing him, right? The #1 board of Juanmi Costa. And Juanmi, at some of these racetracks, especially this season, he's been on another planet. So, yeah, Juho Rainer is doing an amazing job. And, in fact, look who's coming into the party. Jukka Tolonen. We usually don't see Jukka as a regular competitor this season, but he's making his presence known again.
He is, and he wants to go out. He's had one start this season, one victory this season. That was at the Nordschleife, which, as everybody knows in iRacing, is the eternal sign for I want some safety rating. I will run whatever race at Nordschleife we possibly can. But now look at that beautiful camera angle there through the SS section, and now through the sweeping rights. We'll take it on board with Pepe Fuentes as he now looks to try and angle away past Timothy Reed and move up into 7th position, up the hill through the S's, over the crest then at turn 9, which is a very difficult corner because you have to keep waiting for the power, down the hill at 10, and there's, again, almost, I would say, stylish to turn 1, flat though, turn 11 hairpin. That is your setup.
Yeah, and I would say the biggest difference between 11 and 1 is the visual cue going in. Here we go, Juanmi Costa close enough to take a peek down the inside, but decides to back out of it at the last second. But comparing those two corners, when you come down into turn 11, you're coming down the hill, so you get to see your landscape in front of you. It really looks amazing because it spreads out like a parking lot going in there.
Oh, it really does. And you certainly get that understanding of, okay, this is a part of the track where it is about as open plane, open view as you can. You can make many choices in terms of that part of the circuit to go and make it happen. This, of course, the car that in 1978 brought Mario Andretti a Drivers' World Championship and, of course, a Teams Championship as well. It was absolutely sensational, the work that they put in. Here is Reiner looking back at Juanmi Costa, already 3 seconds off of the lead, and the group continues to close in because Jukka Tolonen is there at about 9/10 of a second. He'll be grabbing a toe as well on this straight, and everybody is about a 1 second away from being in the right place. This is what we're noticing. These moves are difficult to make.
Well, especially in the dirty era, I was saying that if I'm setting up a car for COTA, I think I would lean more towards a heavier downforce setting. There's just so many technical sectors you need to be able to drive the car with confidence, and when you're following a car with heavy downforce levels, there's a lot of dirty air. It's difficult to even catch them to make a pass.
Yeah, and if you can catch them, that's one thing, but passing is another. Jason Clapper on his charge back up the field. Defensive goes Miguel Morlan into the all-important left here of turn 11. The ATS versus the McLaren, both in Lotus 79s, but now on the power off the exit. That is beautifully done. Juanmi Costa down the inside, moved into second position. Is there any fight back from Juho Reiner? The battles of the J's, Juho versus Juanmi, continues on into the arena, and it looks like it is Juanmi Costa, the championship leader, who gets that done.
Yeah, we're going to see if he's going to scoot away. I think it's going to be a tall task to go catch Pauli Partanen, who's almost 4 seconds up the road, but I think as long as he puts Juho in the mirror, it's a little bit more confidence, a little bit more breathing room.
Well, it's a fantastic J train at the moment with Juanmi, Juho, Yuka, and Jack all there, all hoping they can go through. But if you've got a 151.334 from Pauli Kalevi Partanen, you are not going to be chasing him down anytime soon. Up the hill at Big Red, turn 1, and back descending down the hill once again through towards turns 2 and 3. This is all about the chase. This is all about gaining an extra point here, an extra point there, and finding championship advantage. And Juanmi Costa at this point with his championship, Joey, this is almost match point, this performance, because you got Timothy Reed. He's not having a good day. He's in 7th, he's +1, but he's struggling to make anything more than that.
You're right, and when you look at the championship battles, sure, Juanmi with a max points day, or at least close to it, we should say, is good, right? It's going to extend that lead, but put yourself in the shoes of Timothy Reed. A day like today, you just kind of need to get back on the horse, get back focused, and limit your mistakes because you don't want to fall back any further.
No, you really don't. Timothy Reed has gained places, but he's got his eyes set on the legend, Gernot Preacher, out there, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. All charge their way into the arena through 12 and over towards 13, 14, 15, and 16. They're all going to be racing themselves now around this section. The long triple right not only goes around the Germania Insurance Amphitheatre, but it also skates its way around the Austin Bold Stadium.
You know, I don't even know the names of the stuff in the infield there. I just know that there's the tower that looks like the dinosaur every time I come to the track.
Oh yes, it's a beautiful observatory tower, and the COTA observation tower is incredible as we take this brilliant view around this circuit. You can see the amphitheatre there down in the middle. Over to the back is the Grand Plaza. In the middle of that is technically Austin Bold Stadium, and then of course you have yourself that big observatory tower. Fantastic view with aerial coverage here on the Global SimRacing Channel as we now drive through turn 2 and see that there is still Jukka Tolonen, who I think is going to be the big player in this group. He is someone who definitely lights a fuse when he goes out there, and he, despite the fact that all Finnish drivers sound like they, you know, they don't have much personality. He is animated when he gets behind the wheel. He is brilliant.
There's always the one that's a little bit different than the rest, but hey, you know what? You got to have a personality, you got to have a character, and honestly, when you're having fun, that's when it tends to come out. And what's more fun than racing?
What's more fun than racing here? These Lotus 79s. Pepe Fuentes. Oh, kick of oversteer there through turn 11, and now on the long roller coaster line. Back straight, not truly straight, it feigns a curve over to the right, one of the premier ideals of Hermann Tilke design, but it's never truly a flat straight either. You got ups and downs, it's a downhill braking zone.
Yeah, and I think most famously that back straight between Stroll and Alonso a couple years back, but it is an incredibly long back straightaway that feeds into this slow 13, 14 exit of 15 coming out of here. And be careful with these big motors in the back and the limited downforce. That right foot can get you into trouble.
It can. And when that right foot's planted fully down to the floor, you're going to have to hope that the car responds in kind to it. And again, not quite close enough here is Pepe Fuentes as he absolutely batters the final curve and looks to try and attack off the exit and charge on forward to another position. He's not quite finding it here at Circuit of the Americas. We're in Texas A&M country, of course. Aggies football not too far away at College Station, but down the hill, someone is hoping that the band is going to play and the music is going to be sweet for an overtake.
You called Pepe Fuentes clobbering that curb. I've seen him be pretty aggressive over the sausage bread box curbs, whatever you want to call them. And you have to be really careful in these Lotus 79s. You might be able to drive over them and you might not think, oh, that was no big deal, but you can actually cause damage on the underside of these cars, and that's where the majority of the downforce is made, is on those tunnels.
And that's why this car is the forefather to those of the modern formula out there right now, like the Mercedes W13 E-Performance on iRacing. It is a absolutely beautiful car and one of the first to use the ground effect system to its advantage. Now on the straight, look at how Pepe Fuentes struggles in a straight line compared to Timothy Reed. I think the difference there is on the downforce settings, and I think Pepe Fuentes has got a car that's planted through corners. Timothy Reed, he's gone for a straight line merchant.
And every driver is a little bit different. Some drivers like having a looser car because a loose car tends to turn nicely. However, you have to have the quick hands and the ability to catch those slides when they do happen.
On board from a driver's eye view with your race leader, Pauli Kalevi-Partanen, who is out there in front as we reach lap 9 of 19 here in this race. Up the hill at turn 1, and it doesn't do it justice there, that opening corner. You got that small berm to go over through 1 to make sure that you're turning in. Down the hill through 2 now, and in through the SS section. Very similar to that at Silverstone. Left, right, left, and then the long double right-hander, which sets up, you have to stay all the way over on the right-hand side, open up the next left-hander, and then you're up the hill through the lights of 8 and 9. You are absolutely on an edge. You are dancing the opening sector.
You really are, and just watching Pauli's hands and watching the car, I have a feeling he's on a little bit of a lower downforce setup. He was really straightening out those S sections, just trying not to move the car back left and right. And usually when you have the downforce levels, you have the confidence and able to put the car where you want to on the racetrack, unlike what we were seeing.
Yeah, and confidence is key in terms of how you go through, because it can open up confidence that you can go in a little bit faster, turn in a little bit more, carry a little bit extra speed out of the corner. That will buoy you in terms of how you want to go about your business. And Pauli Partanen is once again proving that that is one of his skill sets that he has. And there is minimal effort in the steering wheel. He knows exactly how much throttle input he needs to put for the car to respond in the way that it needs to. You have to be absolutely unparalleled with the way that you go about your business to do it. That, I think, in the entire lap was the first small kick of oversteer.
You have to be smooth. Right, you can't be making sudden movements with the wheel. When the car is loose, when it's on edge like that, you just have to be very smooth with it. You kind of have to let it do its thing, because if you try to tell it what to do, it's not going to agree with you.
It's also told everyone that that's the fastest lap of the race. Here comes Pepe Fuentes, though, sat in underneath. Does he have a big lunge up at the big red? Pulls up alongside. Can he get it turned in? Timothy Reed goes too deep and he spins at turn 1, just like he did a week ago. It's becoming a trend now for Timothy. He'll drop the place to Dylan Freckleton, and now he'll have a lot of work to do to get back some points in this one.
Such a shame. Yes, he loses technically 2 spots because Dylan Freckleton was able to scoot by, like you were saying. Turn 1, it's tricky. You're used to going to the apex, and when you're Timothy Reed and get pushed way out like that, it plateaus. Plus all the dirty rubber and track over there, there's no grip. Around he went.
No grip out there, of course. They've been laying down the marbles on the outside of the opening corner. That much with the rubber burn off that comes along from these tyres, and you have to be so careful with the way that you go out there and try and make everything happen. No such issues for Pally Parton. Juanmi Costa, championship leader. We were talking about, okay, it's match point at the moment in terms of the way that he's going about it, but I think it's not just match point, but it's match point. He's at the net, and he's got about, well, Timothy Reed's about 6 meters behind the baseline.
I was curious when Costa cleared Reina a handful of laps ago, was he going to be able to go down and chase down our leader? And he's been, oh, there was a huge mistake. What a save from Juanmi Costa. That is one of the trickiest corners on the racetrack. You come in with a ton of speed, and it almost caught him out.
Look, you can't blame him for not pushing. He is pushing, but Pally Parsons a little bit better. And Juho Reiner has now been allowed back into the fray up the hill. Juanmi Costa, let's not forget, at Phillip Island, threw away a race win by spinning from the front. Now he does have added pressure right now. Wakey, he smells the coffee.
I think if you're on the radio with Costa right now, just tell him to take a deep breath. Let's do a little bit of a reset. We know we're faster than Reina behind us. Pretty much turn off the mirrors, ignore him behind you. Let's just go out there, turn those consistent laps again.
Well, it depends on how much he can be ignored, because Juho Reiner is doing enough to keep in range here. Up over the crest and now over towards turn 11 once again. He is pretty much psyching himself up for another opportunity, but he won't get the run off of the exit. The acceleration of Juanmi Costa is simply staggering.
Key to put the power down going onto the longest straightaway. It gaps you out between you and your closest competitor rearward. That was exactly what Juanmi Costa needed to do, and it's what he did. Now leading into this technical section, Jukka Tolvanen is also just trying to barely hang on to this battle, but I feel like he just doesn't have the faster car in this group.
Now, the issue that Reiner's going to have here is that he's even in the toe in a straight line with Juanmi Costa. So Costa is running less downforce.
So you could look at that a couple ways, Jake, because if you're in the toe, technically it's helping you, right? It's giving you a higher top speed, and then when you get to the S sections, you have more downforce. So theoretically, it should actually be a little bit of a net positive if you have somebody in front of you with a lower downforce.
It should. Here is Pepe Fuentes. His next focus with the Fernando Alonso helmet on at this point is the legend Jarno Freacher. They're the Austrian in the number 2 car. Now, Jarno is a driver who, about 6 years ago, could not stop winning. You get the sort of drives out of Jarno Freacher that even when he was on a bad day, on a bad performance, he did not know how to come second in any sim race.
Those must be the days. I have yet to experience those myself, Jake, but, you know, one can dream.
One can. I can certainly dream. I just dream of being in a split with enough ability to race with these sorts of drivers. But once again, back down the hill. Fuentes snapped twice for an opportunity. He's going to make a huge lunge up the inside, and he's going to make contact at the apex. And you know what? He'll try and say thank you very much off the exit, but look at the drag race here. That is just pretty much as plain as it possibly gets. Jono Creature is on a straight line set, and he has blown him away NHRA style.
And crucially, Fuentes was pinched down on the exit when he made that late braking move to try to get around. So yeah, his exit really suffered coming out of the corner. Although I have to say, Freesia did not have the best of laps. His last lap combined that with, another mistake there. Same with Fuentes. Both of these cars, they're just struggling.
Oh, they are. They are sliding about this circuit. They are hoping to find these moves, but both of them are putting each other in a very dangerous game, and they're both pushing, I think, too hard to either A, defend, or B, hold on. They're at 101% each as they go through. Unless we forget that we're already down to just the 7 laps remaining in this race.
Up the hill one more time to turn number 1. It really gives you a good idea of the elevation change here at COTA. I know we're in Texas, relatively flat, but I think we found one of the hills out there to build a racetrack on.
Oh, I think we absolutely have, and it's so surreal when you see the very first lap here as Jason Clapper in 10th position tries to chase us down the view up over the brow. I think one of the most interesting things, Joey, about this circuit was the first lap ever set around here, which was done when this track didn't even have asphalt laid down as we focus on Barry West out there on circuit, and that was done in a Red Bull by David Coulthard.
Yeah, no, that's pretty rad. I was one of the very fortunate ones to drive the racetrack when it first fully opened. We got a private test day down there with Roush and a handful of the other Grand Am teams, and trust me, they didn't like it when we started spewing oil all over.
Oh, no, absolutely not. It had to be as pristine as possible, Joey. Come on. You know how it goes.
Yeah, it was brand new. They were not happy.
Oh, I absolutely know they wouldn't be happy. On the brakes they go into turn 12. Pepe, oh, he gets a huge kick of oversteer over the curve. And the difference in property there on the outside. This is one of the few circuits that still employs AstroTurf on the outside.
Yeah, and it's kind of, it provides grip. It provides a false sense of security. You can kind of lean on it until it pretty much rips itself off of that glue that's holding it to the surface.
Yeah, and then it's pretty much a case, really, Joey, that it spins up like carpet.
Yeah, 100%, and then it's not there to help you anymore. But I think as we watch this specific battle right here between Freesia and Fuentes, I do think that Fuentes is a little bit more aggressive. He's got a little bit more speed, but as the laps continue to dwindle down, I think he's going to struggle more with his tires just based off of his driving style.
Well, not only is he going to struggle here, Joey, he also has the unfortunate situation that he's in exactly the same boat as he was last time out at Aragon, where he played the game with Nathan Finnegan and he couldn't quite make the moves happen because, you know, he sat there and he's not got a car that's going to give him anything in a straight line. You can be as close as you like through this section. That's absolutely fine for Pepe Fuentes, but where are you going to beat someone on the brakes to make the move?
Yeah, you're right. You have to basically be right on the gearbox, just like we are here. Make a huge lunge into 11, which he's faking. Maybe make Freesia go defensive. He's going to try to... Oh, there's a spin from Fuentes, just around in the dirty stuff.
Around he goes, and there might be another free one for Dylan Freckleton if he's not too careful. He might just get a sense that he can make a pass, and he can do so happily. Pepe Fuentes making another big mistake out on track, and that's just the case that these drivers are having to fight a lot out there on track. And there is Dylan Freckleton in the Club UK&I car, and you can certainly sense where he is. He says hello with the 3 legs on his helmet, which indicates he's from the fastest island in all of motoring history, Joey, the Isle of Man.
Oh, well, he just went off the island right there, was able to get back on it. Just struggled to slow the car down. It's so easy to get ramped up with the RPMs in that section, and then you really struggle to get it slowed down because you can drive a golf cart around that section and it still seems tight.
Yes, you absolutely do. But nothing is tight when it comes to the gap on fastest laps between first and second. Pauli Partinen's 150.7 on that last lap is light years ahead of the likes of Juanmi Costa, who only himself got a 50.9 down on the board, his fastest lap of the race. So Costa is throwing everything he's got at it, but it must be demoralizing to go, oh cool, that's my fastest lap of the race, I still lost 2/10.
I can't help but draw parallels between the Max and Lewis situation, where you've got Juanmi, who's been dominating really this season, and then all of a sudden you got Pauli come in here for a solo race, and you're right, where did he come from, and why am I not winning anymore?
It's always the question. Well, if you're not winning, you're only as good as your last race. And that's the key. Juanmi Costa is as good as his last race, a race win. Pauli Parttinen is as good as his last race, a race win. But the key now is that you're going to have one who's not going to be as good as his race win from last time out. Dylan Freckleton now starts to apply that pressure onto Pepe Fuentes. How much has he got in a straight line? And will he have enough to make a lunge through and try and make something happen of it? The answer to that is no, but he's in position.
You were mentioning Pepe in a little bit of a higher downforce. I said it's going to net positive when you're following a lower downforce car. Well, you're seeing the opposite right now, because he's the one punch in the air, and he's going to be the sitting duck on the straight line.
He is going to be that sitting duck, and I think it's going to be rather important to know when Dylan Freckleton gets close enough and how much an advantage he's got. Another 50.7 fastest lap by Pauli Parttinen. He takes about 0.04 of a second away as he now looks to really ratchet up the gears and try and break even further clear of Juanmi Costa. Freckleton trying to push, and just behind that, Timothy Reed, desperate to get back the 2 places he lost in his spin at turn 1 a handful of laps ago.
I'm happy you called that out, because with 4 laps remaining, I really feel like Timothy Reed is going to go up there and catch both of the cars in front of him. Timothy's turning 151.5, 151.6. Well, both cars in front 152.5 or slower. So that number 4 hot on their heels.
Yeah, and chasing down with everything that you can possibly find out there. Fuentes 52.9, Freckleton 52.5, and Timothy Reed 51.6. 1.3 is certainly a huge number, but I think Pepe Fuentes will look behind, will know that he's going to have a huge race in the final 4 laps overall. And lest we not forget, Jukka Tolonen in 4th position could still have a crack at that podium, Joey.
He's been lurking the whole time. I feel where Jukka is falling short today is the majority of the racetrack. I think he needs a little bit more downforce on his car. If he can go up there and maybe close down a half a second to really help use that slipstream down the straightaway, then maybe we can talk about it, but it just seems like he can't close that half-second gap in order to get there.
So, Joey, what you're telling me is that his issue is everywhere.
Everywhere but the straight line. It handles real good on the straight, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, I think everybody knows how to handle a car on the straight, put the foot to the floor and go for it. But this is not the sort of car, Joey, where you can just mash the throttle.
No, it's not. And I will say that some drivers, they just have a natural ability to drive a low downforce set. And Jukka Tolonen is one of those. If you understand the car moving around underneath you, take the wing off of it, because it's going to do nothing but make the car faster. You just have to deal with it sliding around underneath you.
Just the one retiree from this race, 10 laps down, Nathan Finnegan. We saw him spin on the opening lap of the race. He decided to pull the car into the pits. His day was done about a half a race ago. Here is the race on for 7th position, and Fuentes in his element right now with 0.5 of a second, 0.6 of a second, trying to rush away from Freckleton on these corners, because he knows that if there is anything in a straight line, he is pretty much toast if he gets to that point, and something might happen in terms of an overtake. Freckleton really closing in. Look at these drivers. They're taking such a wide turn in, Joey, into turn 11, because they're trying to straighten up the car as much as possible to use the straight.
And I mentioned it spreads out like a parking lot on entry. Well, when your eyes see that, it just kind of naturally drives you in early towards the apex, which is what you don't want to do. Pinch that apex when you're leading out onto the biggest straightaway. You want to open up the entry and really close off that exit to get the run going down the straight.
But you also have to remember that through these corners, these are cars that effectively run like an aeroplane upside down. So like an aeroplane that goes through, on the back of it, as Pauli Partonen says, another 150.75. These cars effectively create aero wash, or what is known as turbulent air behind them.
You're going to have to deal with that in the case of Timothy Reed right here, not only because Dylan Freckleton is in front of him, but also Pepe Fuentes. So you're getting the double dose of the dirty air. And I guess the easiest way to think of it, air we can't see, but if you're familiar with a boat, right? A boat makes a wake behind it. It's the same type of idea. You're pushing through a fluid out here.
You are, and these drivers are certainly searching for a really good opportunity here with their boats, so to speak, to go out and sail the open waters and hopefully see something very nice, which is something that I did this weekend. I saw a seal and I was very, very happy in the waters. I found a wild seal. Dylan Freckleton, though, is looking to try and absolutely swim his way through and try and pick up anything, and the big fish is there just in front of him, Pepe Fuentes.
Water dogs are always fun to see out there, and this battle, I'm surprised. Pepe Fuentes has picked up the pace. He was doing mid-152s. He's closed it back down to, see here, 151.8 that last time, but I think this is actually the closest Freckleton has been coming out onto the straightaway. This is going to provide a possible opportunity going into 12.
He's only taking half the draft, though, and I think that's the most important thing. He's struggling a little bit to get himself in. Covered off defensively then by Fuentes. He marries up the inside, and he's blinking a bit, which will make life even tougher for the overtake then for Dylan Freckleton, who's still going to try and push around the outside. Not going to find that lane, but he's experimenting now, seeing if there's any way he can go through it. Again, he takes that wide line. He wants to open up the exit as much as he can. Even Stevens between them as the last lap starts for Pauli Partonen.
This group going through turn 17 here, coming out of the fast sweeper into the tricky left-hander where we've already seen Ronnie Costa make a mistake. They kind of stretch it out just a little bit of an arm's length gap as they go through the final turn one more time here. Last lap for this group.
Well, they know that any instant points they've stored up, you now bank them, you now use them. This is what you have raced the entire race for. Use everything you've got available. Big lunges up into turn one, includes the likes then of Timothy Reed. Freckleton down the hill, got a really good run, but he's got to stay within about 0.3 of a second if he wants the chance then on Pepe Fuentes. Really trying to open up then the S's section. The race on for 7th, for 8th, and for 9th. The top 6 looks all but decided at this moment as they now look to try and rush up the hill, but that's where the corner hurts for Dylan Freckleton and the gap opens up for Pepe Fuentes. It's going to be a really, really tough run as Timothy Reed goes around again in the background. So he has another spin. The good news is he had 22 seconds to play with and he will not lose the position, but he condemns himself to a horrible race today of 9th place. But Pauli Partonen right now, he is on course for race win number 20 of his Lotus 79 career. Off of just 80 starts, it would put him 1 in every 4 races in victory lane. He is as cool as they come as he now drives through turn 19 over to the Andretti in a car which Andretti did win his world title in. Pauli Partonen is eternal as he wins at COTA.
What a drive from the Yuka Pauli special out there. And I actually think Freckleton was able to get around Pepe Fuentes. It wasn't off of the back straightaway, but more in the slower technical section. Now Fuentes got a run looking down into turn number 20. Freckleton goes defensive. Let's see if Fuentes can do the over-under. Oh, he gets too loose coming on the throttle. Freckleton will hang on to it.
Eyes bigger than the belly. Pepe Fuentes did everything right. but he put the power down too early, and that's how quickly it can all go wrong. We're going to step aside for one moment, though, here on the Global Sim Racing Channel as the doughies come in from the Duke Capali special. We're going to take a little moment here, and when we come back, post-race coverage is brought to you by the Global Sim Racing Channel shortly.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
A race that was pretty much walk away in terms of the front of the field. That was a masterclass of driving away, and we've seen that for the second consecutive week. But teaching everybody a lesson today was Pauli Kalevi-Partanen. He manages to pick up the win, and he does so in a time of 35 minutes and 14 seconds. His margin of victory just 5.2 in the end over Juanmi Costa, who was pushing like stink to get away from Juho Rainer in third position, who absolutely gave him a race the entire way forward. Jukka Tolonen would finish off in fourth position, proving that, again, it's very difficult to make passes here in this field, with Jack David Spickett rounding out the top five. Jano Fritsch would get sixth on a day where he struggled a little bit out there in terms of his pace, but was still able to gain a place, as well as Dylan Freckleton up two today in the racing action. It will be Pepe Fuentes in 8th position ahead of Jason Clapper, who ends up in 9th because a penalty for exceeding the instant limit for Timothy Reed will drop him down even further into 12th position. It will be Miguel Morland who will be the first of those in your Division 2 category, rounding out the top 10.
We have Barry West in 11th place. Timothy Reed, like you just mentioned, falls to 12th. Pablo Suarez finishes in 13th. Keith Herner, 14th. Sam Ryman in 15th. And then, unfortunately, Nathan Finnegan, our only DNF today, only completed 7 laps.
Well, a lap there for him certainly was worth its weight in gold. But a fantastic drive from Pauli Kalevi-Partanen. He joins us right now. Pauli, it's only your second start of the season. You're coming in pretty much as a stage hunter for these races, and it looks like you're doing an incredible job of that. That was pretty much elementary in terms of the way you made that happen.
Yeah, that was very good race. Actually, I don't really like this track at all, but I have practiced this week a lot, this COTA, and I started to enjoy it. It's actually a very good track, and I really think that if you ever try this track and you think it's too hard, just keep practicing and it will reward you. It's a very, very nice track to drive.
It's a beautiful track to drive, but talk us through how you go about gaining the speed over the course of a stint like you do, because this is a car that certainly does have a little bit of tyre drop-off, but that's more about the fuel where you get that pace in the car. What makes a difference for you when you drive between a car that is heavy and full of fuel between a difference between when you've got a car that's got pretty much no fuel at all and you're out there and you're putting your best laps forward?
Yeah, well, I just try to adjust to the grip that I had. Actually, I think this the first lap with this car is a bit hard usually because you have so little grip on the front tires, so the first lap is always a nightmare with this car, but after that I think it's quite easy to drive till the end. The car just feels better and better every lap, so it makes it easier, and I really enjoy the last laps with this car because the car gets so much good grip and it's low on fuel, so it's good to drive.
Well, we know that you're not in for a championship push. we do know how good you are in terms of pace and in terms of going out there, picking up a race here and there. Is there any chance we're going to see you at either Alton, Suzuka, or Long Beach?
Well, I think Suzuka and Long Beach are quite sure. I will be on vacation next week and week after that, so I won't be in Finland, so not going to race those. But I think that I will race the last two races, and hopefully I get more wins there.
Well, we will see whether you can increase your abilities to score victories. You now have a 25% win rate in this series. Before we let you go, Pally, anyone you'd like to thank?
Well, very, very big thank from bottom of my heart to Timo. I was already giving up this track the start of this week, and Timo came to help me with his very good guidance. He's a very good teacher and driver and setup maker. So very big thank to Timo. Without Timo, I will not be here at all. And of course, thanks to my teammate Jukka, we had so much fun. We had more laugh than racing this week, but we had a blast. And thanks to you guys, great broadcasters as usual. Thank you.
No worries at all. Pally Parton there joining us, picking up an important win in terms of his stage hunting abilities. But Joey has taken the walk up the pit lane over to the final garage, where he finds the driver with the number one, the championship leader. He finds Juanmi Costa.
Juanmi Costa finishing second place today. How you feeling?
Oh, really great to finish the race. There, you can do nothing against Paul. He's too fast, this guy. He made, I think, 2 races in 6 months or so, and he's pulling away 6-7 seconds. He's crazy fast. Happy to finish second after the mistakes almost cost me the place with Juho. So very happy.
We caught that big slide there going down into turn 19. Now, I know this racetrack, it's difficult every single corner, but was there a specific area that was maybe worrisome for you?
Turn 1, because I still don't know where to brake or how hard you can brake, or I have no idea. You have a light post on the right, but that's all you have for reference to try to brake and not spin when you are on the apex. Really difficult, that part.
It is tricky how the track plateaus over there. And now let's talk to me about a little bit about that battle that you had with your buddy Juho Raina back there. That was something else. You were able to finally get by him and then try to chase down Pauli, but how difficult was it to get around the number 9 car?
Yeah, first of all, apologies for the contact with Juho. I was not patient enough. The tires were very cold on the lap 1. And then I knew I had a little bit more top speed than him. So it was just, I think, I need to wait for a small mistake or doing pretty well on the SS and the first sectors, because he had more downforce. So I had to wait for a small mistake or nail the sectors. And he finally made a small mistake on the exit for turn 12. And I saw Yuka was coming behind. I didn't wait for that. And when you see Yuka behind, you want to hurry up.
I don't blame you one bit at all there. If Yuka's behind you, I would say let's get a move on as well. And before I let you go, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to, say hi to? Thank
you to everyone at the Lotus 79. Congrats to Pauli. And shout out to Teemu Vaskilampi, who gave me a setup 3 years ago, and today after 3 years still works the setup. So thank you to Teemu.
Well, that was Juanmi Costa coming home in second place with a 3-year-old setup on a 40-year-old car.
Yeah, it's amazing how the years roll back and you have that ability. The other half, though, of the Jukka Pauli special is here with me now. The Angry Birds helmet is on screen. Jukka Tolonen with us right now. Jukka, today was a case about, well, what can you do? It's your first start of the season. In terms of getting back into the swing of things, finding a move there on Jack David Spickett to move up into 4th, there's no real shame in terms of the way you drove that race today with the pace increase that Juho's had and the group that's out there in front, your teammate Pauli, of course, and the championship leader. How did it go for you today?
Yeah, good to be back. It's been a while since I have been driving, so it was I think first season of this year when I have been driving Lotus last time. So yeah, definitely just trying to find the pace again. And actually I'm surprised how well I found it. I started driving only on Friday, so not too many hours behind yet. So yeah, I'm happy, and I had really fun fighting there, so real racing. So I enjoyed myself, and I'm completely sweaty at the moment. So that's the best you get from this series. So yeah, I'm completely happy. And well, what comes to trying to get the position from Juho, it was really difficult as the car was understeering like crazy when I got close to him, so the dirty air felt really bad. So every time I got close, then the bunch of right-handers in the end of the lap were really difficult, and that was usually the point where I lost the draft then again. So it was struggling, but yeah, I enjoyed myself, and I hope I can join some races still this season and next season, depending on other stuff in life. So yeah.
Well, we certainly hope to see you over that, but talk us through the process of being away from the car for so long and how you tried to implement the practice to get back into racing shape in a sim racing term to go out and perform today in this Sunday Lotus 79 series.
Well, having someone to practice with is really helpful. So Pauli was driving with me today and yesterday and on Friday. So it really helps. He was giving me tips, and just following a fast driver really helps me at least. So yeah, and just trying to get some laps in and getting the feel. I have been driving so much, honestly, that it should not take too much time. I'm not the fastest one to adapt and find the speed, but still I have so many hours with this car that yeah, a couple of weeks should do it already. Then it's just about how much you practice. So when I won the championship, I was practicing every day several hours. So I'm not sure I cannot do that anymore. But yeah, anyway, the kind of pace, speed should be there quite soon.
Well, we certainly see that you've got great pace already. A fourth place finish is nothing to shake a stick at. Yuka, before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Pauli, of course, and Timo as well. Hope to see you, and I hope we get Michael racing soon as well. So wanting to see all the old faces, I mean the familiar faces from earlier seasons, and all the friends again here. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And thanks for you, the broadcast.
No worries at all. Yuka Tolman, then a fourth place finish here today, and certainly moving forward with great resolve over the course of his season. That will just about do it for us here, though, for the Sunday Grand Prix Series, your GP Lotus 79 Championship, which is on for everything. Want to give a massive thanks to the crew here today, from Joey, from Ryan, and from Dougie. You can catch all of our stuff on YouTube as well as Twitch, and make sure that you're with us on X to make sure that you get yourself in. Of course, it used to be Twitter, it is now X. We have, of course, as well, our Instagram, our Discord, to make sure that you are part of the sim racing community, and get yourself in on Facebook on top of that. Also want to give a thanks to all of the products and equipment that we have used over the course of today to make sure all of the work was done fantastically, including the music done by June Lalonde. If you haven't already, head over to junelalonde.bandcamp.com and buy her music. It is incredible. In terms of where we are, next time out, we head over to Tarporley, England. We are up between Potters and Scousers, we will be at Oulton Park. Join us then on August 20th when they can't race at Oulton Park, but they can in the sim. Once again, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. It's 4:30 p.m. GMT. It's 5:30 p.m. BST for that, and get yourself in on the mix. But with Pauli Partanen on top of the times and on top of the table here today, it proves that you can lose time in terms of running this car. You certainly cannot lose the class in terms of the skill that you have. We will see you next time out at Oulton Park. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you at Oulton Park.